All right. Hey, Innovate. Welcome to Let's Make a Deal with Drew and Jimmy. I'm Drew Sutton, and this is
Jimmy Newson.
Jimmy Newson. We're here to talk how do you make a deal at a conference? So, Innovate's amazing. We put a huge amount of energy into bringing just the world class people that you can't meet, diamonds in the rough, people that are busy doing real stuff but don't get out there as much as they should, and to connect us all together. But it doesn't matter if we don't figure out how to actually make a deal happen. So we're talking, it's probably about a 5-part series. What are different ways you can make a deal work so that everybody understands the verbiage and the language and the stakes at play so we can get into a deal faster? If we all have the same language, I think we'll understand what each other is saying. So without further ado, I think the fastest way to make a deal, once you meet somebody, you say to yourself, I like this person. So I think that, so then I immediately start scrolling in my Rolodex and I say, I think they would be a good fit for Jimmy or for Derek. So now I want to connect Bob and Sarah. And that conversation is a connection, not a referral. So when I do a quick LinkedIn, I'll just say, hey, you guys should know each other. You should grab a 15-minute catch up because I think you'll like each other. And then I might follow up with Sarah and be like, hey, Darren has a marketing company and I think he can help you with this problem. So I tell Sarah the problem that I think Darren can solve. And then I give them, hey, I'm not asking for a sell. I'm just saying, can you give 15 minutes to each other? Because that's the thing about all the trust you can do on that sort of a quick snap connection. What do you think about connections?
For me, I love what you said there. There's a lot of gold. And at the beginning, I always think about what do we define as a partnership? Like I have a definition. I have the ideal strategic partner. I have the ideal partner, which is may not necessarily be a strategic partner. And then I have relationships. So I have 3 buckets that I put people in. And when you have that, then you're just a little bit clearer on what you may be looking for, but then how you might place people for other people. And then I think it's really about that clarity, because there's nothing worse than getting on a call for a 15-minute and the person on the other end goes into sales mode.
Oh man,
And that's happened to me many times.
Yes.
I have to pause the conversation and go, I just want to get to know you.
Yeah.
So so for you as that person making an introduction, I think you have to make sure that you're very clear on how you want to connect that person to the other person, so it's not weird and awkward.
No, 100%. There's nothing worse than getting on a phone call and thinking, oh, this is a hi, how to meet you. Or worse, I think that you need my services and you think that I
I
need
need
your
your
services.
services.
If I wanted that kind of awkward, I would just go to a BNI meeting.
There you go, right there. Yeah, so that's how I'll add some value to that conversation, because I think it's not all conferences are treated as equally.
Yeah.
And you and I coming from the Innovate Summit, it was amazing. And it was the ideal place where you could do some really great partnership strategies and start something that from the beginning had merit.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna one more thing on connection. This is from David Holman, who was at the event. David commented that, and I totally agree with him. You have your reputation, a good chunk of your reputation is who you connect other people with. And I'm not saying, oh, this is my Rolodex. This is who I can bring to the table. What I'm saying is to my valuable Rolodex, the reason they trust me, the reason they will take your meeting is because I never shove random people over to them. I think one of the VCs on stage said it this way. He said, don't give my name out so that you look cool, because I will stop taking those calls.
I remember that.
Yeah. So the discretion you show. So like I might meet Darren. I'm like, oh, Darren would be great for Sarah. But then I need to pause and ask, will Darren be great for Sarah? When Darren meets Sarah, is that worth my reputation with Sarah? And that shouldn't stop me necessarily, but it should pause me and say, do I really need to make this connection for them? Or is this, I'm excited in the moment and I'm actually just taking 15 minutes of Sarah's time because this is blindsiding her and she doesn't know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely it's not a popularity contest. And I know most people that I know are definitely not easily going to recommend someone because it is your reputation. But as we were preparing for this particular podcast, I did think about a little bit harder about, because I'm all about strategic partnerships. I did think a little bit harder about how this conversation should actually play out and how we should ask the questions. And what I really come to realize is it can be very difficult to immediately from the get-go, you just meet someone to want to recommend them, to want to give them that next step, because there's so much under the hood that you may not know yet. So
Yeah.
that is it's hard to do. And when you're in a position where it actually becomes a little bit easier, you're really surprised.
So when you're meeting somebody for the first time, you meet them, you're like, man, there's something here. This seems like a capable guy. This seems like a capable girl. Man, I love what their service is offering. They'd be great for Sam. What is a quick checklist you go through before you go to that next step and make the recommendation?
I'm a digital guy, so I usually like to do a lot of research. And of course, if you're in person, that is off the table,
Yeah. Yeah.
off the bat. So you have to go by personality. You also take into account where are you in this? How was this conference pitched to you? And also who you're talking to. And sometimes it's almost about the title of the individual, because some titles have a certain mentality to them, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So it'll offer, if you're talking to a CEO or founder or a business development person or someone in strategic partnerships, immediately they're already in that mindset. And that's what I mean by title, is sometimes that helps you feel more comfortable because you already know the language that they speak. And we speak as entrepreneurs many different languages.
No.
So that in itself is something that I'll take into consideration. And also, I want to have a bit of a conversation with them. I actually had, when I think about the Innovate Summit and all the people, I recently did a post and I tagged them. I can literally say that I probably tagged about 15, at least 15 people. And I had deep conversations with everyone but one of those. One was just happened to be someone was on the stage. I didn't get a chance to have a really deep conversation. When I say deep conversation, I'm not talking about after they go off stage. I'm talking about throughout the 3 days that I was there.
Right.
And that helped me feel more comfortable speaking to them. So they always say you're going to these massive conferences and if you can walk away with one or two good connections. I walked away with 20. And it was done because it was a smaller group. And I felt like for some reason I spent more time with those individuals. And so that time put in was extremely valuable to feel comfortable, because other than having a brief conversation with someone that either got off stage or someone sitting next to you, you need some substance.
I was talking to Leif, who was at Innovate last night. Leif and I are good friends from a long time ago. And he commented that most of the deals he sees done in the VC world, he's been entrepreneuring since Bitcoin was like a dumb thing. And he was trying to get me into Bitcoin like 205, just crazy. But he said that of all the conferences that he's been to, when he goes repeatedly to conferences, it's about the third conference where deals start to happen. And it's not really that it takes 3 years. It's that the first time you meet, you're like, who are you? And then you tag emotionally in your head. You're like, I like Alina. I think she's cool. And then the second conference, you're like, Alina, it's so good to see you. I should really do something with her. And then the third time, you put Alina in this spot in your head where you're like, I know her skills and I like her and I trust her and I've watched her stuff. I'm trying to do this. This is how we could partner. So it's time. It's number
Yeah.
of touches, it's number of interactions, not just bump for 15 minutes, trade contact. Which actually brings us up to the next. I think the easiest version is maybe you recommend Darren to Sarah. I think the next level is let's go have coffee. So a virtual coffee. I have a way that I do it. How do you go about having that longer conversation?